What is last mile routing? So in e-commerce, when you own your own supply chain, like e-cart for Flipkart, Udaan and Udaan delivery as well, you have a bunch of deliveries that reach the delivery hub, and then it has to be sent out. So the last mile exact delivery. Now, a decent hub may have anywhere between 30 to 40 trucks going out. Like Udaan being B2B, it's sort of boleros and those kind of vehicles that are going on. Now, last mile routing essentially is what item should which truck take, right? As well as the order in which it should deliver. So if you think of your computer science basic learnings that you would have done, is what you call traveling salesman problem. You want to minimize the distance that you travel, and you have to hit all your sales points, right? In real life, it becomes quite a bit more complicated with real life constraints that happen, and that's where the solution essentially was challenging along several dimensions, right? So the problem statement is relatively clear. The business impact of the overall solution, once it was developed and deployed over a fairly long period of time, it wasn't that it was deployed in 1 month. It took several iterations, including UI UX improvements on the tool itself. So it was a very long development and deployment journey, but overall impact was fairly significant at Udaan scale in terms of the net reduction of the distance traveled, and thus the number of vehicles that were needed to actually do the delivery. So the business impact was twofold. One, on the side of saving the time to route, and then second was actually the number of vehicles as well as the distance traveled. That translates to the final metric is cost per delivery. The first challenge was when you are sort of several technical challenges. One thing that you can very well relate to is if you're crossing Sony Signal or Silk Board, you don't want to do it more than once. Right. So that was one of the biggest challenges, that there are these bottlenecks that were there. In Delhi, you don't want to cross ORR in a ring road, outer ring road. In Mumbai, there are again these hotspots. So how do you incorporate these on-ground constraints, quote-unquote tribal knowledge, as constraints in the algo to make sure that the algorithm works for fun? Second is, if you think of the classic traveling salesman, and if you had your hub in Whitefield and you had deliveries at in Bellandur, HSR, Sarjapur Road in the middle, and then Kormangla, let's say 2, 3, 4 deliveries in these middle areas, but majority of the deliveries in Kormangla. A classic algorithm would just assign it, okay, just do one delivery in Sarjapur Road, one in HSR, and then go to Kormangla and deliver that. The real life, it doesn't work that way, because the drivers they become more comfortable with their regions. That I'm going to take this to Kormangla, I'm not an HSR guy, or I'm not a Sarjapur guy. Driver bias. And there was a practical reason as well. A lot of these on-ground constraints are the shopkeeper says I'm not available. Udaan is B2B e-commerce, so delivering to retailers. The shopkeeper says I'm not available. Come back again. Come back in 30 minutes. Any of those flux things that you can never incorporate in your algorithm, those operational challenges the driver is able to manipulate or take care of if his delivery radius is limited. The second class of challenges was the actual deployment of any machine learning operational system. Now this abstracts out from the exact problem this I've seen manifesting in pretty much everywhere when you are trying to deploy something which has an operational overhead, which is the softer aspect of the people who are actually using the tool feel threatened by it, that it's going to take my job, right? Yeah. So when you're trying to deploy the system and the hub in charge who's doing the routing for 3 hours and he's able to do it in 30 minutes, like he feels threatened, okay, I will lose my job somehow. And that's when the acceptability of the solution, 99% it's working, 1% it's not working, that 1% keeps getting highlighted. So there's a very softer aspect of change management.